Apollo 13 is famously described as a successful failure. Apollo 13 was NASA's third moon landing mission, but the astronauts never made it to the lunar surface. During the mission's dramatic series of events, an oxygen tank explosion almost 56 hours into the flight forced the crew to abandon all thoughts of reaching the moon. The spacecraft was damaged, but the crew was able to seek cramped shelter in the lunar module for the trip back to Earth, before returning to the command module for an uncomfortable splashdown. The Apollo 13 astronauts were Commander James Lovell, Lunar Module Pilot Fred Haise, and Command Module Pilot John Jack Swigert. At age 42, Lovell was the world's most traveled astronaut when he joined the Apollo 13 mission, with 3 missions and 572 spaceflight hours under his belt. Lovell participated in Apollo 8, the first mission to circle the moon, and flew 2 Gemini missions, including a 14-day endurance run. Prior to the Apollo 13 mission, 36-year-old Haise served as the backup lunar module pilot for the Apollo 8 and Apollo 11 missions. Haise was a fighter pilot in the U.S. Marine Corps before joining NASA as a test pilot. He was selected for the manned space program in 1966, at the same time as Swigert. Apollo 13 was Haise's only trip to space. Apollo 13 was Swigert's first trip to space, at age 38. He had been part of the support crew for Apollo 7 and was initially Apollo 13's backup command module pilot. He was asked to join the crew 48 hours before launch time after the original command module pilot, Ken Mattingly, was exposed to German measles. But the question is, what happened to the Apollo 13? Apollo 13 was NASA's third moon landing mission, but didn't reach the lunar surface. A series of problems plagued the Odyssey spacecraft, which was designed to bring them home, causing the crew to abandon all thoughts of reaching the moon. A fire ripped through one of Odyssey's oxygen tanks and damaged another. Oxygen fed the fuel cells in the spacecraft, so power was also reduced. Fortunately, the spacecraft Aquarius, designed to land on the moon, was still in working order. But Aquarius didn't have a heat shield, so it would not survive the re-entry back to Earth. So the crew crammed themselves into Aquarius, which was designed for 2 people, not 3, and began the long, cold journey home. Without a source of heat, cabin temperatures quickly dropped close to freezing. Some food became inedible. The crew also rationed water to make sure Aquarius, operating for longer than it was designed, would have enough liquid to cool its hardware down. In the hours before splashdown, the exhausted crew scrambled back over to the Odyssey and powered it up. Thanks to a monumental effort from the crew, mission control and spacecraft manufacturers helping with the mission, Lovell, Haise, and Swigert safely splashed down in the Pacific Ocean near Samoa on April 17, 1970. Though the mission failed to reach the moon, Apollo 13 made it back to Earth successfully, and the whole crew commander James Lovell, lunar module pilot Fred Haise, and command module pilot John Jack Swigert survived. The Apollo 13 crew used their lunar lander, Aquarius, as a makeshift lifeboat to survive the long, cold journey back to Earth. It was a rough journey home. The entire spaceflight crew lost weight, and Fred Haise developed a kidney infection, but the small vessel protected and carried the crew long enough to reach Earth's atmosphere. In 1994, Lovell and journalist Jeffrey Kluger co-wrote a book about Lovell's spaceflight career that primarily focused on the events of the Apollo 13 mission. The book, Lost Moon: The Perilous Voyage of Apollo 13, spurred the 1995 movie, Apollo 13. Starring actor Tom Hanks, the movie won 2 Academy Awards and was filmed in cooperation with NASA.